Hello everyone and welcome back to our 9-month odyssey around the world, and today we're going to one of our most anticipated stops where we're going to see ancient markets, beautiful palaces, and snake charmers in Morocco.
Welcome to Living Phase 2.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Nancy, and we're empty nesters striving to live life to the fullest.
And we are living that full life, going all the way around the world for 9 months on the Ultimate World Cruise.
We sure are. Well, friends, if you're new here, we have finished our 9-month world cruise. We're back in Michigan. We're just finishing up these videos. And for those of you that have been with us all along the way, thank you. But today our ship has docked in Casablanca in Morocco. Now, Casablanca is on the northwest coast of Morocco, and Morocco is on the northern coast of Africa. So we're going to go, though, from Casablanca. We're going to drive to Marrakech, stay overnight, and then the next day we'll go to Agadir, which will be the cruise's next port. So we're gonna chase the ship. The ship is going to move along without us as we cross across Morocco.
Right.
So, but our ship's in Casablanca right now, and so this is the first place we're going to do a little bit of exploring. We're on a small private tour that a friend had arranged, and so there's a couple small buses of about 15 of us in each bus. And the first place that we're going to go to in Casablanca is Rick's Cafe.
That's right, Rick's Cafe. So for anyone out there that is a fan of cinema, you know, one of the most famous movies ever in the world is Casablanca.
Play it, Sam. Play as time goes by.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine.
With Humphrey Bogart, and it's one of my favorites too. I actually do enjoy that movie. Now, it's a movie. There's not really a Rick's Cafe. There never was. However,
there is now.
There is now, right. So they've built a sort of replica of it, and you can go in, have a drink. You can sit at Rick's Cafe. They'll play as time goes on. You know, they'll do the whole thing. Now, we were there because it was our first stop getting off the ship. It was not open yet. However, we did have some friends on the ship that went in later in the day. They had fun. They said it was a little kitschy, but it was fun to go to Rick's Cafe. So that is a stop for you to make, and you can get a picture out there if you're a fan of the movie Casablanca. Well, where'd we head next?
Well, we went to Hassan II Mosque, which is known as the Big Mosque. It's actually the second largest mosque in Africa, or the 14th largest in the world. And so it was quite the beautiful mosque. It's got a tall minaret that's about 700 feet tall, and we were able to go inside and take a tour of it. We had to take our shoes off. They gave us little green bags to put our shoes in. Yep. But then we had a guide that gave us a very nice tour of all of the mosque.
Yep, he showed us a lot of the different culturally significant things. He gave us an education about Islam and you know, what it's like to worship in here, where the men go, where the women go, how things are divided, and what, you know, kind of all the different areas of the mosque. One thing about this mosque is it's actually built out over the ocean. They reclaimed areas and built pillars, and so the ocean is actually under parts of the mosque. I thought that was kind of interesting. And yeah, it was just amazingly grand, just huge. It actually will hold 25,000 worshipers inside the mosque, another 80,000 outside, so a total of 105,000 people can actually worship at one time, both inside and outside at the mosque.
One thing that I found that was kind of interesting is they have this beautiful area underneath the mosque that's to prepare yourself to wash up, and the ritual that
the oblation
that
area
they require of the worshipers. But there's been such a drought, they can't put water into all of these water
basins,
areas, the basins. So now they just kind of use a wipe and
towelette.
That's it.
To save water.
Sure, but that's unfortunate that there's been such a drought.
And in fact, there's glass where you can see from the oblation area up into the worship area, or the worship area. There's certain areas where you can see down. So that was kind of neat to see as well. It was was a good tour. I think if you're in Casablanca, this is a don't miss. Be sure to go see the Hassan II Mosque. I mean, it's hard to miss it. It's one of the, as we said, one of the largest in the world. And get a good guide who's going to take you through and talk to you about the different about Islam, about the areas, especially if you're not Muslim, as we're not, to learn a little bit about another culture and what they do and how they worship.
Exactly. Well, after the mosque, we went to our first souk, and souk means market. And here we went to the oldest pastry shop in Casablanca, Bennis, Habous.
Yeah.
And this was a fun place. They had some really interesting pastries, and you purchased your pastries by weight. So you got a little box, you got a glove on your hand, and you picked out whatever pastries you wanted, and then they just weighed it. So you want to have cash available to go to this.
Yeah, have cash. And I did think it was interesting. Some of the pastries cost more than others, but once you opened your box, they just kind of quickly in their heads divided it up and told you an amount. I mean, I assume the amount's right. They just give you an amount and then you pay it. So, but no, I thought that was. So you're going to see in a little bit, this is a snack we have. So we didn't try them here yet.
No.
And so we're going to show you here in a little bit when we're on the bus, on our long bus ride that's coming up, kind of exactly how good these pastries are. Well, where'd we head next?
Well, the next is we're in the souk, and so we got to try some olives. Our guide got us a number of different olives, and that was also very nice to try.
Right, so the souks are all divided up amongst food areas, amongst metal workers, and you're going to see more of that as we get to Marrakech. But yeah, those olives were absolutely amazing. They were great. In fact, we got a little bag of them to take with us and have later. No, I thought that was really good as well. And then after the olive adventure,
Well, then we walked to the grounds of the presidential palace, and our guide talked to the guards, and we got into the courtyard area there for a photo stop.
yeah, it's quite an impressive. It's a fairly new palace that was built, but they have a large receiving area where crowds can gather and the president can greet them and all that. Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But from there we went to the Square of Mohammed V. And now this is a very famous place here in Casablanca that pigeons gather. So it's kind of like St. Mark's Square in Venice used to be, and there's pigeons everywhere, and there's people selling corn to try to attract the pigeons to sit on you, and they'll try to, attract them so you can get pictures. And what I will say is we had a few people in our group try to do that and try to get those pictures. The pigeons weren't cooperating.
No, they weren't very hungry, I guess, or else they didn't want the corn.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people feed those pigeons. So you can give it a try if you want a pigeon picture. That's really what this square is about. There's a nice fountain and some buildings around you can take a picture of, but it's really a pigeon square that you know. Right. Well, leaving the pigeon square, we got on our bus and we started our over 3-hour ride across the desert to Marrakesh, and it is desert.
It's desert. And by the way, friends, it is hot. It is well over 100 degrees while we're here in Morocco. It is roasty. So, be sure if you're here during July, which is not the ideal time, bring plenty of water and sunscreen.
Yeah, and pack your patience. So, in fact, that's one of the things that at the end of the video, we're going to talk about how much we did or did not enjoy Morocco, Marrakesh, etc. And I think the heat had an impact on that. So stay tuned and we'll talk about that as well. On the bus ride, we had a little snack, right?
We did. Well, this is where we had our pastries that we had purchased from the oldest pastry shop there in Casablanca. And they were really good.
Very, very good. And in fact, I'm glad we didn't buy more because we would have ate them. So if you're in Casablanca, don't miss stopping at Bennis Habous, the oldest bakery. If you just say the oldest bakery in Casablanca, you'll find it. It is absolutely worth the stop. Well, now that we're in Marrakech, which is a real tourist center, it's a cultural market center, etc. for Morocco, we are going to go on a food tour. So yes, a food tour. We love these. And this was actually, again, arranged by a friend of ours. And our first stop was we call them donuts, but they're a traditional fried bread. And we had those and mint tea. Now again, as we mentioned, it's well over 100 degrees, approaching 110 degrees.
Hot tea.
And fried bread that's hot out of the fryer.
And it's not sweet bread
No.
either. There's no sugar on top, so just a fried bread and hot mint tea.
Right. In fact, if you've had Indian fried bread out in the Southwest United States with nothing on it, it tasted a lot like that.
It did.
Yeah. But it was good with the tea. There was nothing wrong with it.
There's a lot of sugar in the tea.
Yes, a lot of sugar in the mint tea. So that made up for not having sugar on the pastries. But it was good. I got some great pictures. It's a small little shop. Those are the kind of things we like, these small local little shops in the market. And we all sat around. It's right in the street on the outside, enjoyed our mint tea and our fried bread.
Well, next, our guide took us kind of the center area of the market. It's kind of surrounded by all the different souks that are around it. It had a lot of vendors in this market square, and we went to a juice bar, and so we had some really nice, refreshing, cool juice, cool tasting juice, and so that was very refreshing on such a
when
hot
it's over
day.
100 degrees out. Yeah, it was good, and I agree with that. And then we actually headed into the souk. So we started going down the little narrow alleyways and working our way through. Now, one thing that I think did impact your enjoyment of Marrakesh and Morocco overall was, as we're going through these narrow alleyways and areas of these souks, there's these scooters just everywhere.
Oh my goodness, they'll take your arm off too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And they're not just creeping through there. They're flying through here in an area that's barely wide enough for two people to walk through. And I think that was, I guess I'd say, distracting, or it really took away from the enjoyment of being there,
because you're in the watch so closely.
Yep, they're constantly flying through there, and that did impact it. So be careful walking through the souks. These guys are on the scooters, and they don't slow down, and they move fast, and they're all through there. So just watch out for that. Well, as we walked through the souk, our first stop was kind of a pastry shop.
Right, so there were sweets here. There were also these little triangles filled with cheese and some filled with chicken, and our guide asked what we'd like to try. You said you wanted to try one with chicken, and I said, no, you're not. It is way too hot outside, and this chicken is not refrigerated.
Yeah.
And we have never been sick on the World Cruise. And by the way, we made it through the World Cruise without getting sick on
all the food we tried, everything we did.
ate.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, sorry, I would not let you have the chicken.
But we tried several of the different sweets. He kind of went out and just handed each one out, and we tried them. And they were good. I mean, I enjoyed that stop. Yeah, we really did. Well, from there, we proceeded on through the souk, looking at different things and the different people and, selling their wares and things. And then we went to...
Well, we went to a little restaurant here. And at this restaurant, we got to try kind of food from a community oven here. Now, the first thing we had was lamb with bread, kind of a roasted lamb with bread. But the second thing we had was from a tangine, from a pot, and it had roast in it and some vegetables in it, and they put all these little pots down in a big community oven, almost like a slow cooker. They called it the bachelor's meal because bachelors would put all their food in a pot, take it to a community oven for it to cook all day, and then they'd go, and later in the day they'd get their pot out and enjoy their food. Yeah,
like basically a crock pot meal.
Yeah.
So, and again, I thought it was good. I thought the food had a good taste to it. However, being as hot as it was, this was a very heavy meal for as hot as it was. So that took away from the enjoyment a little bit of it, just from the fact of, when it's, 40 degrees, 5 degrees Celsius, over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, you don't necessarily want a big, heavy meal. And I think that took away from it a little bit. But overall, the meal was good. Just it wasn't exactly something that fit when it's this hot and you've been traveling all day and walking through and you're dehydrated and tired. So that made it a little difficult. Hence why we're recommending, and you'll hear this at the end again, if you're going to visit Morocco, Marrakesh, Casablanca, try to do it in the off season. Try to do it in the winter, and that's how we're planning our upcoming trip to Egypt as well. So how are they going to see that trip to Egypt?
Well, they just need to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications.
That's right. So you won't miss any of our upcoming adventures, both on the Ultimate World Cruise and after the Ultimate World Cruise. Well, after we went to and finished our dinner, we walked back through that main square of the market, and you saw some very interesting things.
Oh my goodness. We saw snake charmers that were there. So we saw cobras, and this was crazy. It was, I mean, I don't know another word for it. It was crazy. I'm actually very terrified of snakes to begin with, and then to see cobras just sitting out there, and people walking right by them just almost mortified me, really, to be honest with you. I've done a little research since then on these snake charmers, and sadly these snakes, they're dehydrated, they're starved, so that makes them lethargic. In some of them, they will actually stitch their mouth shut, except for their tongue can go in and out, and so then eventually they die of starvation, and then they get another snake. And so it's like, as much as I hate snakes, I hate animal cruelty even more so. So that to me was rather heartbreaking to see that. But then I could see, well, that's why they were safely walking so close by all those snakes, and nobody was worried about them, and nobody's worried about them slithering away.
So, and these snake charmers, of course, they're like in many big cities, whatever they are, they have them out there to take photos for tips.
Right.
So if you walk anywhere near them, with your camera, you're going to be inundated with people asking you for money, and of course, make sure that you know how much, that they're going to want for a picture if this is something you want. Now, we did not pay for a picture.
We stayed far away.
Well, I mean, because we already knew about some of these things with the snakes and animal cruelty, so we didn't want to contribute to that. We got a quick snap so that you guys could see what it looks like from a distance, but other than that, we didn't engage with them or do a tip. But it's probably anywhere from $5 to $20 is what you're going. Depends on how much you're going to get in video and everything. So, everyone's heard about the snake charmers and everything. That's kind of the backstory, and that's what's going on.
Yeah, it was kind of disappointing. That was sad.
Yeah. Now, be aware, though, this main square, I found this quite fascinating. Everything around here is open till 2, 3 in the morning. So all the vendors, everything, and it kind of makes sense because that's the cooler time of the day. The people in Morocco are not out here like us crazy tourists at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They come out after the sun goes down, things cool down, and this place is extremely lively. So if you come to Marrakech, one of the things to do is plan on staying up late, come back to the market, then come back to the main square, and it is quite amazing when you do that. Well, we left the market, got back on our bus, and we took about a 15-minute ride out to our hotel, the La Méridien.
Right, and that was $130 or euros a night, and that did include a buffet breakfast, which was really quite good.
People raved about that breakfast.
I thought it was good, and our room was nice. It had a Middle Eastern theme decor done to it, but it was a good place to stay. Yeah,
it really was. It is kind of a resort. Now, this is where I would say if we come back to Morocco, Marrakech, I would much rather stay in what's called a riad, and we're going to talk a little bit about those, but effectively that is a Middle Eastern household, I guess I'll say. It's almost like an estate, or it was I'm not using quite the right word, but mansion that from old times that now has been converted to like an Airbnb type thing that you can stay in. And there are riads that you can stay that are right off of that central market that you saw. So you can stay right there, you can walk to the market, and I think that would be much better than staying in a commercial hotel like we stayed at.
It would, but I would say do your research, because you want to have one that has air conditioning, for sure. Or you might not get a very good night's sleep. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And there are some that do not. So as Nancy said, make sure you do your research. But the hotel I have zero complaints, had a beautiful pool. It was very nice. And really, we were there kind of back to the hotel rather late. We had to get up rather early, get back on our bus and get back into town because we had a lot more exploring to do.
Well, after our breakfast buffet, our guide took us to the Koutoubia, which is a 1,000-year-old mosque minaret that's near the souk. We didn't go inside, but we just looked at it from the outside, and it was really quite a sight to behold. It has stood the test of time through a lot of earthquakes and all. Yeah,
it's one of the most famous sites in Marrakech, so I'm sure that if you're on any tour or anything, you'll go to the Koutoubia Mosque. Well, then after that, we went to the Bahia Palace. Now, this is kind of interesting because if you've been watching our videos, just yesterday we were in, or 2 days ago, we were in Alhambra in Spain, which of course is a Moorish or Muslim type structures that are built there over 35 acres in southern Spain. So I couldn't help but compare the two of these. What I would say is the Bahia Palace, it was built in the 1800s. Alhambra was built almost 1,000 years ago, like started in the 1200s and built all the way up to the 1400s. So, you know, when you compare the two of them, I found Alhambra more detailed, more intricate, just more the mosaics and the carvings and everything. I think Bahia was a little grander, it was bigger and more modern, of course. And it was built as the residence of the advisor to the Sultan, and then later the French governor, as French had occupied Morocco, the French governor stayed there as well. So it was nice getting to see the different courtyards and the different mosaics and carvings. It was certainly a nice stop, and this is where we learned about the rihads we mentioned earlier, and that is a structure that, or is a building that you can use for a residence, and now a lot of the rihads are rented out like Airbnbs, so you can stay in those here in Morocco. Well, after we left the Bahia Palace, we walked through the souks a little bit more, and then we went and stopped, had a little bit of tea, you had a juice drink. Mm-hmm. We saw this interesting camel graffiti.
We did.
And from there, we walked through the souks. We saw all the different types of souks.
Right. So the souks are almost differentiated by what is being done. So one area is metalwork and welding, and another area is leather, and another area is for yarn dyeing. So different things. Woodworking is another one. So different areas for all the different types of trade.
Yeah, it was quite fascinating walking through them, and certainly I did enjoy that. I think it's something that you know, on your own you could wander the souks and just get lost and enjoy this as a, you don't necessarily need a guide to go through all that. Well, from there it was time to start heading down to Agadir. The cruise ship waits for no one, as we say, but we did. Our guide stopped and got us a Moroccan taco is what he called it, but I certainly wouldn't call it that. It was more of a wrap.
It was really good, though.
It was
quite good.
Absolutely
so if
excellent.
you have an opportunity to try a Moroccan taco, do so.
Yeah, we ate them on the bus on the way to Agadir, which is about a 2 to 3 hour drive again from Marrakesh back down to there to the south. And we got there in plenty of time for our cruise ship, so we did drive around a little bit, saw a few of the sights in Agadir.
Right, so he stopped at the beach. We just really had kind of a photo stop there at the beach, and then took us back to the ship.
Right, and one of the things about the ship being in Agadir on this day, it was a holiday.
That's right. It was a Tuesday, though, but it was a holiday, and so the souks were closed, and people on the ship were a little disappointed because they didn't have much to do, although the beaches were beautiful, so they could have had a nice beach day. Right,
so it's always important to understand, is it a holiday, is it a weekend, is it a Sunday, whatever it might be, when you go into port, so you can help plan your day that way.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny getting back to the ship, since we drove all the way across Morocco. Our driver did not know how to get to our ship, so we actually circled around a bunch of times, went to different
port was huge.
Yeah, it was a little funny, and I thought some people on the bus were even a little concerned. It's like, are we going to make it to the ship? It's like, we have an hour yet. It's okay. But we made it back to the ship with no problem. So that was our Moroccan adventure. We spent that overnight, 2 days in Morocco. So Nancy, I know it was hot and we struggled a little.
It was
what are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts were, I really was looking forward to seeing Morocco. In fact, that was one of the top things on my bucket list of things on this whole world cruise. I was really looking forward to Morocco, and I was really disappointed in Morocco. It was not what I was expecting. I had built it up in my head, and it just didn't rise to fit what I had expected. And so
give us like 3 things that troubled you about Morocco that were not so great.
Well, okay, it was so crowded. It was so crowded and so hot there. That was one thing. I had seen a reality show, it's probably been 15 years ago, where it was one of those elimination shows like Survivor or Amazing Race, and these people went all across Morocco. And I just thought, oh, this was so beautiful. And I didn't see any. I didn't feel like I saw any of that.
You didn't see where they went or the things that they saw or did.
Yeah, I just didn't see the beauty of Morocco. The souks that we did see, like I said, were just so crowded.
You hated the scooters.
I did, and so I was like, no, I just don't need to come back. And then the whole snake charming thing that I told you about earlier, it just wasn't for me.
Yeah. So this is where we have a agree to disagree moment.
Yes.
Because I actually enjoyed it. From a standpoint of this gave me a taste of so much more to go see. I think we could come to Marrakesh and stay a couple days, explore on our own, not feel so rushed. Don't go there in July, go in February, go in March when it's cooler, go when there's not so many crowds, not in the summer. To me, I think that that's something that if we're, have the ability, I wouldn't mind going back. So, this may be a discussion we have, and we'll see if we're ever in the area on a cruise and what we do.
Right.
But that's okay, because everyone doesn't have to like the same things.
That's true.
Well, where are we going next, Nancy?
We're going to Fatima, Mike, and this is actually another one that's high on my bucket list to see. So we're going to Lisbon, Portugal.
Yep, I can't wait. I think this is going to, spoiler, we know it's great.
It was wonderful.
It absolutely is. Well, thank you very much for watching along. This one was a little bit longer, and we hope you learned a little bit about Morocco and maybe got some great hints if you're traveling there.
And I hope you enjoy it more than I did. All right, friends. Have a beautiful day. We'll see you very soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.